Hello everyone, welcome to the stream. In this live stream we're going to be discussing feedback for balancing ship engineering and material gathering, as was requested by Frontier Developments on their forums. There is a large thread on their forums on the subject, which will be linked in the description, and which we will be adding to once we have compiled our thoughts on the matter. Joining me for this discussion are a couple of my friends from Squadron, the Fatherhood. I'm going to introduce myself, give a quick overview of my game experience, and then each of the attendees will do the same, so you know who you're talking to and what experience we have brought to this discussion. Okay, so I'm Logan Terrick. I've been playing Elite Dangerous for almost 9 years now. Pledged to support the game on the second day that it went into alpha back in September 2013. Been playing the game on and off since then, but more on than off. And when I have been playing, I play a lot. Over the past 4 years, when I play pretty much all the time. I've been involved with supporting the game in every way I can since then, taking part in the original design discussion forums where Frontier had asked for feedback on how we felt that Elite Dangerous's promised game mechanics should be implemented. I've seen and taken part in the same kind of requested feedback a few times over the years. I do have to say that every single time Frontier has actually failed to listen to the high majority of the feedback provided, and has consistently produced content or features that do not live up to the ideas that were suggested by the commanders, and has also consistently provided fixes to issues that don't actually go anywhere near far enough to fix those issues. Don't get me wrong though, I love Elite Dangerous. I wouldn't be playing it so much if I didn't. Elite Dangerous though has so much more promise of what it could be. I just hate the way that Frontier has limited its potential and hindered its popularity by the strange implementation of features and their very limited ideas on fixing any issues. Okay, so that's me. Who's next? Scorn, do you want to go next?
Sure, I'll give it a go. Hello, everyone. I'm Scornbread. I've been playing Elite Dangerous for about 5 years now. I joined the Fatherhood about 4 years ago, before they even existed in the game. And we've been trucking along ever since, and we have quite a few people now. And I was just joining here today to help Logan discuss this topic about material gathering and such, and to give my 2 cents about it. That's about it.
Do you want to mention, how long you've been playing the game or your experience?
Oh yeah, like I said, I've been playing Elite for about 5 years.
Yeah.
I'm heavily involved in BGS and helping other commanders get into the Fatherhood and helping them get credits and gathering materials and advising them as such. These are things I like doing in the game. I value those types of things over anything else, so that's why I'm here today.
Excellent. Hey, Bravo, do you want to go next?
Sure, I'm Papa 4 Bravo. Everybody just calls me Bravo. I'm here to support Logan. Been playing Elite probably about 4 years. I started out on a Macintosh, believe it or not. Moved to PC when they stopped Mac support on Steam. And I guess that's about it.
Okay, that's pretty good. That's all that's with us at the moment. There may be more dropping in as the stream goes on when people have the availability to drop in. That's what we've got so far. Okay, you'll see on my screen in game, I just have my cockpit there at the moment. What I'm going to do is actually just go to Dav's Hope, just for some on-screen gameplay while we have this discussion. But first off, I want to get started with the discussion. And on the Frontier forums in this thread, what they've done is given a few examples of how they are thinking of improving the ship engineering and material grind. So I thought, first of all, we could go through those. The first one they mention is this. They say that materials within grades 1 to 3 are typically traded down from grade 4 and 5s. To make them worthwhile to gather by themselves, should their availability and the rate at which they are obtained be increased? Allowed to say straight off that's an obvious yes. But I'll add that this is a minor issue to me compared with the major issue of the availability of grade 4-5 materials. So that is a minor issue to me, but an obvious yes. Vaughn, what do you think? And then Bravo.
We've always worked around that issue, and I would agree with what you just said, that, you know, trading up or down is the best way to do it, but the availability of the higher level materials is such that trading down can be difficult as well.
My opinion, they players have to go. You could pull up the system HIP 36601 right now, and there would probably be about 40 or 50 carriers parked in that zone, because that's the spot that everybody knows that is a sure shot way of getting grade 4 materials so that they can trade down. And this is just talking in the raw material sense. So if those grade 4 materials were offered more in the bubble, then we wouldn't have to go out of our way to go crash on that system alone. You know, we wouldn't have to. That's a pretty big undertaking when you jump your carrier out there, especially for commanders that don't have that. You have to hitch a ride with somebody else, and it would be better if there was somewhere like that, or if the rates were increased to where we wouldn't have to go so far outside of the bubble.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that completely.
I mean, there's certain materials you're only going to get in the bubble.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, very true.
But what you said is exactly correct, and it's changed from Horizons to Odyssey about where you go and park at and what you're trying to farm. But
Yeah.
a lot of that's just raw materials.
I would like to get rid of these places that we have to go and farm at.
Oh,
know, make it-
yeah.
Like exactly what Logan is doing right now. He's going to Dav's Hope because that's the go-to place for those types of materials.
Yep.
What is it? The
Manufactured.
yeah, that's the ones. There's certain kinds there that, like the heat. The heat. I can't remember the exact material, but there's one that it's just common there, so that makes it the best place to go and find those materials.
Yeah.
I'd like to get rid of places like that.
Exactly.
Well,
I mean,
that was like the Jameson crash site, when you just sit there and scan the same beacons over and over and do the relogging. You know, you don't get enough random materials in different locations to support engineering. You just have to go to certain places and basically farm them because you can't get them in normal gameplay.
yeah, exactly. I agree with all that. Right, moving on to the next section. The next thing they say is grade 5 materials can be traded down into grade 3-4 materials within the same category. However, grade 4 and grade 5 materials take similar amounts of time to gather. Should the numbers of materials picked up, for instance, be increased to account for this? Now, for me, again, this is a good idea, but again, it's just a drop in the ocean from what actually needs changing. So, these changes that they're suggesting are very, very slight compared to what actually needs changing. But again,
Like
I think
a Band-Aid.
yeah, it's like somebody's chopped both your legs off and you put a Band-Aid on it. It is needed. So much more is needed.
There should be a way to make getting these materials enhance gameplay. So when we're actually doing our different, whether it be, you know, missions or exploration, or we're trying to do exobiology or all these different aspects of the game that we do, you just don't find the materials there. You have to hunt these things out and then just do all kinds of, you know, rebooting, you know, relogging techniques to get them. We've never made it a active part of game.
Yeah.
At least to a level that could support it.
Okay, then moving on to the next item on the agenda that they mentioned. They said that we're aware, oh, this is a good one. We're aware that some materials are much harder to find than others as they are tied to rarer BGS states. Let us know which materials ought to be made more readily discoverable. Now,
pharmaceutical isolators.
Yeah, I know.
That's the top one.
My response to this is, first off, I don't know why we have to tell Frontier this. They know.
Feel like they don't know.
They know which BGS states are rare better than anyone. And they know which materials are tied to them. So why are they asking us to tell them what the materials are? It's just a ridiculous request to me. Anyway, to me, locking materials behind the BDS states was a terrible idea to begin with. I think none of the materials should be tied to BDS states, and they all should be easy to find and in greater numbers. My opinion. Go on, do you want to have a go?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It shouldn't be tied to BGS because BGS is sort of an end game. Kind of look at that as an end game type of thing, and locking those materials behind that is sort of a gateway. You know, you have to either manipulate the BGS yourself, or you have to have friends that can do it for you, and that's not fair.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of I was a loner at one time, and I wouldn't have wanted to count on someone else just so that I could get that one type of material.
You're just making it impossible for newer players. That's, you know.
Yeah, and I'm all about encouraging newer players, bringing players into Elite. So they should increase the drop rates on these things and give us some hot spots like that system that I mentioned earlier within the bubble, so that players can crash down on it and hang out there. You know, when you got players hanging out in one spot in the game, it creates popularity. Even if the credit farms of the past were distasteful, what it did during those times is it brought a lot of players into playing the game because it was something fun to do.
Yeah. Do you have anything to add to that, Bravo?
No, I agree completely with what he just said.
Okay, then moving on to the next item. They say any estimates regarding how long it took to earn a given engineered module by gathering materials will be helpful in addressing balancing. So, for me, again, my first response is I don't get this, because, like I say, I've been playing a long time, and Frontier have already been provided with dozens, if not many more examples over the years. I know for a fact I've given them at least a half a dozen examples myself of how long it takes to engineer things in the past. And I've seen plenty of other people posting and felt the same thing before as well. So I guess what they're saying here, that they weren't listening. And they can't be bothered to go back and find what we told them. But in that case, fair enough. We can give them. I mean, do you guys have any examples of how long it takes? I mean, I can say it takes me, if I decide to do a new ship, I can engineer that ship top to toe in a day. But that is because I know the mechanics so well, and I play for at least 10 to 12 hours a day. And that's something else. I don't understand why that matters. It's not the slight engineering difference from one module to another that needs balancing. I mean, sure, engineering time varies slightly from one module to another, but in general, they all take pretty much the same amount of time, and they all need that time that's taken to engineer them reducing massively. I mean, like I just said, I can engineer a ship in a day, but that's because I have so much time to dedicate to the game, and I know every shortcut going, and I use them.
And you also have a surplus of materials saved up.
Yeah, I have a surplus of materials as well. Exactly. All these contribute to me being able to do that in 10, 12 hours. But, so if you consider that someone with all that experience and knowledge can take 12 hours to engineer a ship, but you look at someone who's just started the game, has no idea how to do this, or is just learning and only has 2 hours a week to play, then it's
I
just...
remember being there.
Yeah.
Being there, and that was fun. And when I finally got my first ship engineered, I think it was a Python that I really worked on, I felt like I had accomplished something after like a month or two of
Yeah.
grinding the materials and whatnot. So no, they shouldn't just hand it to us like candy, but we need to help these newer guys out a little bit. Help these guys get to the point where they can start engineering a little faster.
Yeah, I remember engineering my first ship, and you have an incredible sense of ownership after putting the labor of love into it, if I should say.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But there are aspects of it that I think were extremely challenging that should have been at least easier to, maybe not, I don't know, it's not quicker, but easier to figure out.
Or to gain momentum.
Yes.
Like figure out how to farm something, and then start gathering it faster.
Yeah.
Incoming message.
But the amount of materials that drop, like right now, every time you pick up one of those items, you're getting what, 2 or 3 of the material?
Yeah.
Maybe 5. Would that be
Yeah,
too much, or would that just be a Band-Aid?
I
3 to
think
5 would help.
personally, I think things like Dav's Hope should be a one-off extravaganza that you can come and go to get rid of the relogging for starters. You shouldn't need to relog. This should
I
be
do agree there.
So this should be a place where you come. I mean, if you don't know it's already here and you haven't been here before, then you've got to use planetary navigation to get here anyway. So it's a bit of an effort to find a place. So my opinion is they should make this a massive drop of materials, just like hundreds of them. But if you relog it, it doesn't respawn, and that's it. It's a one-off thing. That you come here and you get a bulk reward of materials.
Now, I did notice something. when I went out to fight the Thargoids in this last little wave that we were doing before the Proteus cannon shot off. It was afterwards. It was when the Thargoids became really aggressive. You could drop in on those wrecked ships, and there were materials everywhere.
Yeah.
All of the materials that you always want, that you never can find. They were just everywhere, but you couldn't get them because you would get annihilated by the Thargoids as soon as you dropped in. So maybe something's coming with this new, I'm guessing, engineering that we're going to be doing. And we'll have some new spots to farm materials. So it's hopeful, but who knows?
I quickly super engineered an ultra cold running dolphin and jumped in there and grabbed a lot of that stuff. But they would still jump in and get me if I didn't get out quick enough. But it did work, and I was able to get a lot of materials there.
Would you call it an efficient way of farming it, though?
No,
Yeah.
Know, at this point in the game, right? Well, it's in the beginning. New players can't do that.
Yeah.
Just take a dolphin that runs at 11% heat in there, and go in, pop some heat sinks, and troll around and pick stuff up. But at the time, I didn't even have Olympic controller on it or anything. I probably should have, but they could make it where when they have events, there is a larger amount of materials, and so it kind of gets people into participating in some of these things.
What about if they? What about for the community goals? If you could choose, instead of getting credits, just like the missions, you could choose materials, and you could get like a huge package of materials.
I think that'd be really good.
Like a care package of like enough materials to get you a round of all the most popular engineering plans or whatever, blueprints.
Well, I think some people would definitely pass up paint jobs over some materials.
Yeah. And they could, like, for the lower tier, they could maybe get enough materials to get them one blueprint to grade 5.
Yeah, that's sounding good. When we discuss that any further, we try and move on with the items. Hopefully be all right.
All right.
Okay, let's have a look. Okay, we've moved on to another section that they call alternate gathering methods. The first thing they say is, we'd like to hear your feedback on the idea of unique missions offered by engineers themselves. These could be repeatable and offer materials specific to the upgrades offered by that engineer. Let us know what you think of this idea, how many materials this might offer relative to gathering the materials manually. Now, this sounds good to me. They would need to offer a good amount of materials, though. What do you guys think?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that sounds outstanding, but just like you said, it needs to be worth it.
I love the idea, but I think it's offsetting the problem that we just don't get enough materials in the first place.
Yeah.
I think they could do that, and then maybe with the suggestions of increasing the amount of materials drop, those two together could help out a lot.
I mean, if you go to an engineer and you're short materials and the engineer says, hey, if you do this for me, I'll give you those materials, that's a big win.
Right. especially when you're there and you thought you had enough and you run out. You're like, oh, I can go do this mission real quick and I don't have to jump 3 systems away to find somewhere to get this last round of materials or go find a material trader.
Yeah. Okay, are we done with that one?
Yeah, good on that one.
Okay, the next thing you say is that another idea is to allow materials to be bought with items that are not obtainable at commodities markets. This could include things such as exploration data, bounty vouchers, void opals, and Fargoid hearts. And this would allow players to earn materials while playing within their chosen disciplines. Now, this sounds like a great idea if, that's a big if, Frontier does it right. And by that I mean that they provide enough quantities of materials for a reasonable amount of the collected items. I would think somewhere along the lines of 1 grade 5 material for every, I don't know, 300,000 in bounty vouchers. You have systems, scans, void opals, whatever. It's got to be worthwhile doing and not like, you know, 1 grade 5 material for 5 million in bounty vouchers.
That just sounds like there's plenty of room for an exploit there.
Well, that's what I keep thinking about. It just seems to me like you could just then buy that stuff.
Because we have our carriers and ways of manipulating things and getting those materials. I don't think, especially the void opal side of it, I don't know.
Then I think senior kind of people that have been around are just going to be exploiting the people who are starting and trying to figure this out.
Yeah, maybe.
Because then you can just turn it into credits.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a big can of worms right there.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I mean, I like the concept if there was a way you could do it that was not easily exploitable.
Yeah, the exploration data and stuff like that, that sounds like maybe something.
Yeah.
So a maybe on that one.
Yeah. Just depends on, we'd have to see what their ideas of implementing that would be.
I don't know, bounty vouchers?
Yeah, bounty vouchers and exploration data may be something that would be okay, but like the void opal, I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems like that's asking for a exploit.
Unless there could be some way that they could, avoid that.
Yeah. That's more information needed there.
Yep. We have Partial Success 77 joining in from this stream. He says, I think most of these ideas are good, even if they don't compete with farming high-grade emissions, as they offer variation, provided they're not so incomparable in gathering rate. Yeah. This is the big problem that Frontier have got. Whatever they do, there's got to be a massive change in the official gathering rate in game, because currently commanders are able to use the relogging, etc. to, as I say, I can engineer a full ship in a day, a full day's gameplay. So if they put changes in, am I then going to be able to engineer a ship in a full day's gameplay without relogging and without using any tricks? That would have to
I
be a
think that would be more
massive
fun.
change on Frontier's side. Oh yeah, that is.
Absolutely.
I'm saying that
It'd be
is
more
what
fun.
I want. But in order to do that, the collection rate, the official in-game collection rate without relogging or using any tricks, would need to be increased massively.
Dab's hope is, I don't know why look how fast they stopped the relogging and settlements to get the loot to respawn.
Mm-hmm.
And they were so quick to shut that down, but why Dab's hope? Why does Dab's hope still exist like that, where you have to relog like that? Why can't they put those types of places everywhere like the settlements are?
Yeah.
And then they could stop us from relogging.
Well, I think the answer is that they could. They just don't. I mean, obviously they can because they've done it, for the on foot settlements. You can no longer relog there now. But they could do the exact same thing here. They just choose not to. As to why they choose not to, I would speculate that it's because if they did, they'd have an even bigger outcry on their hands because people wouldn't be able to use the shortcuts, and then they'd be forced to use the actual official in-game engineering as it's supposed to be done, which would take, instead of me taking a day to engineer a ship, like 12 hours, then I'd guess that would probably take 36, 48 hours at least. And most people are not going to be willing to do that. So then that would put a roadblock up from anyone doing any engineering, I would think. They just decided to do that now without putting any other way in place for the people to do the actual material grind without, resorting to these methods. Do you guys think?
I would say this is the number one challenge for new players, is trying to figure this stuff out.
Oh God, yeah.
But they've been providing lip service on this for how many years?
Oh,
And like you said, Logan, they have all the data. They know this already.
And if you would think that, I don't even know where I'm trying to get at here, but you would think that they would have seen this. We need the newer players, and us included, when they have these other features in the game that exist for us to be able to farm materials, but they don't make it widely known. And it's very vague, and players just have to stumble across it before it gains
that's
any popularity.
everything in the game, isn't it? I mean, look at the BGS.
Right. We're just kind of having to figure everything out for ourselves.
Yeah, and then once you figure it out, they change it all.
Yep.
I guess, is that Frontier's idea of gameplay?
Maybe.
Is that their model?
It does
I
seem
think
like
you'd-
it
I think
sometimes.
you'd hook- Yeah, I think they'd hook a lot of other players if they made this a little more straight up.
Oh God, yeah, definitely.
But I tell you, as a new player, like I picked this game up because, like, I played the old, what was it, Elite back in '84, and I've been fiddling with this for years. But I think when the first time I picked this up, it's so overwhelming to play the game that you just I took probably a 3-month break from it because I just
Yeah.
couldn't even figure it out. There's so many aspects of the game that you're just sitting there like, I don't understand this. And I wasn't part of a group like the Fatherhood at the time, or somebody. I didn't have anybody, and You just had to figure it out on your own, and that was part of the challenge. At one point, I said, "Well, I'm going to play this game." I did.
Yeah.
But is that the fun of it? Is that what their idea of fun is? I don't know. I mean, I
don't
guess it was
know.
fun for me, right? Or I wouldn't have done it.
Well, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. If I would have had this squadron, I would have taken much longer breaks from the game because it was a lot of information and I didn't know anything. I thought I knew a few things, but when I joined here, I was amazed at how quickly I caught on to everything because a lot of people there to help you out. It shouldn't be like that though. You shouldn't have to be in a huge group to make progress in a game.
No, you
Well, in this
definitely
game,
shouldn't.
you never stop learning, and I think one of the things about the squadron, is you learn exponentially. Since I've been in the Fatherhood, I sit in chat a lot and try to help new players, but I learn a lot too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Every day.
Oh,
Every
yeah.
day I learn something.
And that is a good time, I think, to point out that if you're looking for a good squadron to join in with,
Plug time.
yeah, plug time. Go look up the Fatherhood. Join us. Great fun. Lots of great guys. Help everyone out. Great start to the game. Couldn't be better. So there, that's that. Okay, what did they mention next? We'll move on to another section, rolling for engineering improvements. Some time ago, engineering was changed so that some improvement was guaranteed with each roll. However, the amount by which your progress towards the next module grade is still random. This means sometimes the same number of materials will produce a minimal increase. Could this be changed so that the same number of materials are always required to reach the next tier? This would allow commanders to know exactly how many materials are needed. Okay, well, my comment on that is, as far as I'm concerned, removing anything that is random from the game has got to be good. So yes, I'd like to see this. It will at least make working out how many materials you need an exact calculation. In my opinion, the partial grades that we have between grades could also do with being removed altogether. And I think we'd do better with just a single grade increase at a set cost. That's my thoughts on it anyway. What do you guys think?
Well, when I take my truck in for service, me and the service guy, we just roll dice. I just don't like that concept. It's like things cost a certain amount. I mean, what does the engineer look at you and doesn't like the look on your face, so you're going to get charged more? I don't know. I think it should be.
Yeah, but how?
I don't know about that, but
Cargo scoop deployed.
having it be random, I don't think that's good.
But do you
never
think
know
it's a
how
good
much you
idea
need.
for him to have that set amount? Like
I do,
they're
yeah.
saying.
Yeah, I think they should set it.
Yeah, I think it should be static. I don't like. It was even worse before. You remember that, right?
Oh yeah, I
yeah.
remember.
So it's improved, but I think that it's time to just go ahead and you get what you pay for, type thing.
Yeah.
Even if they have to increase the amount of materials that's needed to go from grade, it's like for instance from grade 2 to grade 3, then let's just get it over with in one button click and give them all the materials they need to get to the next grade, instead of having to sit there and depend on your luck
Yeah.
to get it in 3 or 4 clicks.
Yeah, exactly.
They have to know what the randomizer is, and they can just pick the mean of whatever those numbers are.
Yeah.
Just say a quick hello to Kathio, not sure how it's pronounced in my chat, and original chugs. Hi guys. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, next. Oh, that's the end
I
of this.
very much agree with you there.
Are you talking about the
original
chat?
chugs,
Yeah.
Yeah. Original Chugs said, I hate having 1% left of an upgrade after I spend my last grade 5 map. Yes. That's not the
Yes.
best.
But then if the engineer could give you a mission to go on to get that last bit,
Yeah.
Or give you a way to trade something for
Yeah.
some exploration data for a couple of
Yeah.
materials to finish it off.
Exactly.
That'd be great.
That would be
that'd
good.
be helpful.
Okay, that was their last suggestion, and then they just at the end added, feel free to respond with other ship engineering, balancing feedback, and suggestions. So that's what we're going to go on to next, our own suggestions. Jay Wise, hi. So these, I've made a list of some of the suggestions I found in the forum thread, along with my opinions and some ideas of my own. And we'll go through those and see what we all think of them. And at the end, I'll then ask you guys see if there's any other suggestions that you want to discuss that haven't already been discussed. Okay, so first of all, yes, there was a lot of suggestions in the forum thread from people suggesting that you should be able to buy materials for in-game credits. Now, I did think about this, and I think it could be okay. When you think about it, there's a lot of people that complain about grind. There's not a lot of people that enjoy it, and many of us have built up a large amount of credits, and what do we have to spend them on? Nothing really. At least this would give us something to spend them on, and it would give people a way of getting the materials. So I'm sort of, if they did do this, I'd sort of be okay with it. What do you guys think?
I do agree that we need something to spend all of this wing mining mission money on.
Yeah.
Well, we've gotten to the point where, it's like I said, when you get to a certain level in the game, credits just don't matter anymore.
Exactly. When you have all the ships that you want, you have your carrier, credits are just more pixels on the screen. It doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
As long as you got the
exactly.
rebuys to cover everything. So yeah, we need something. I mean, the carriers were a huge credit sink. Still are, but everything else that we have that costs a lot of credits is all involved in the carrier. Like if you have a shipyard and a carrier, you can buy a package to stock your shipyard so that people can buy
Yep.
ships. And some of those packages cost over 1 billion credits.
Oh yeah, I know.
I would
think-
like to break those packages up and just buy one ship so that my friend could have his Python so he doesn't have to jump us 3 systems away. I could just let him buy one from my carrier.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that. I mean, to me, that comes under another issue of hopefully they'll do one day, which is rebalancing the fleet carriers, which also desperately needs doing.
Yeah, they'll have to come back to it. They got a lot of other stuff that they should do before then.
Yeah, definitely. Bravo, any more thoughts on that?
No.
Okay. Next, Another suggestion that I found interesting after I thought about it was that engineering should be scrapped altogether in favour of the engineers themselves offering fully engineered modules for completing missions. Now,
No.
let me finish. Personally, I think it would be good in that it would remove all the problems that engineering has caused, because I think Frontier has got a hell of a job on trying to balance the mess that it's at the moment. If they did this, then there wouldn't be any more complaining about the engineering grind anymore. It would be gone. I know there are some people that enjoy the grind, so maybe the grind could be left in and this would be available so that those who don't want to do the grind or don't have time for it could do this. I'm not sure. What do you guys think then?
I like that they have added the already engineered modules from different things. They need to make that more widely available. I don't think that they should remove engineering from the game in the way it is, because that alone, being able to tweak all the little settings on your ship, is one of the main reasons that I would like to say a majority of players play this game, and it keeps them playing, is the engineering aspect.
Yeah,
So if we take that all away and they just have the engineered modules, then that's gonna.
Yeah, are you saying they
people
actually
burn out
play
faster.
all the engineering for actually performing the engineering or having the engineered ships?
I like performing the engineering.
Okay.
I like to do that stuff. I like messing with. I just want to be able to get what I'm paying for. Like, go there with a certain amount of materials and know that I'm going to leave there with my grade 5, and not leave it to RNG to decide whether I get my grade 5 or not.
I agree with what you guys are saying, but somehow I think they should balance this across gameplay more. Like, you go to Vista Genomics to sell your information. What if that was part of engineering and you had different aspects that you could tie all into it to make it, I don't know, force you, but it make you more broad in your spectrum of the game and what areas you're playing. Just like we said about exploration data, or combat bonds, or exobiology, or whatever aspect.
What if it was like elite engineering, like it was a whole other rank that you had to do?
Yeah, that
quadruple
awesome.
elite.
Well, we're already at what, 5? Yeah.
I hate to say this, but I actually really like the idea that Star Citizen has for engineering. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it.
Now fill me in, Logan.
Okay, what Star Citizen has done, well, what they are planning to do, it's not in game yet, it's most things with Star Citizen. They have a ship in the game called the Endeavour, and it's a multi-module customizable ship, and one of the modules that you can put on the ship is an engineering module. Where they have done it is players are going to be able to own the ship, add this engineering module, and they're going to be able to provide engineering services to the other players. So they get to do the engineering gameplay. They get to do the skill things to engineer the modules as a career. And then the other players can go to that ship and pay for their services to have their modules engineered with in-game credits. That's how Star Citizen engineering is going to work.
That is interesting. It's like a profession.
Yeah,
I don't know if any of you played.
Yeah. I think
It's,
that's really cool.
I just don't know if it lines up with this with Elite Dangerous' style.
Yeah.
Going to stations, running missions. I think that the first things that we talked about with the engineers offering missions and things like that, I think that would be that's probably the best suggestion we've talked about yet. To me, is like being able to do something else besides that at the engineers. They
Yeah.
could help out with materials.
As long as the mission wasn't, 12,000 light years away and, 500,000 light seconds from the star you jump in on.
Yeah, exactly. They need to work on that balance of their reward for their missions in general. They've been needing to do that for a long time.
Definitely.
It's completely imbalanced right now. I mean, you can do a mission that takes no time and get 5 grade 5 materials from that. And then you do something that takes forever and you only get 3 crappy materials. Who wants to do that?
Not me.
None of us do. That's why we're sitting here talking about it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, the next suggestion, idea. This was mentioned a few times, and again, I think it's an interesting option that could do well. We have sort of a similar thing in the on foot Odyssey gameplay. Commander to commander buy, selling, and trading materials option. Done somehow, either with a custom designed UI to enable it. Other ideas was maybe to have it on fleet carriers. I'm not sure how it might best be implemented, but I do like the idea of being able to trade materials commander to commander. What do you guys think?
Well, it's already in the game, in a sense, because that's how we trade ground materials with each other, is through a bartender on a fleet carrier.
Yes.
So if they can do it for a bartender, why not put the UI, give us another service to go and buy for like engineering materials,
Yep, exactly.
like the bartender, and let us trade with each other. So yeah, I agree with that.
It would make things simpler. Because we do a lot of that now. Like you said with the bartender, and we just have to set up rates and do all this stuff, and they could simplify that and implement it across the board.
Now,
Yeah.
I don't like selling settlement defense plans for a capped amount of credits. I want those to be worth $1 billion apiece.
Easily.
Like, how lazy are you today, Commander? Would you like to buy this settlement defense plan for $1 billion credits?
Yeah, but then we have so you have more billions. Like you and me, we have more billions then, right? And then we have nothing to do with them. So they have to fix what we do with our billions before I want them to do that. Because I probably have 8 on my fleet carrier now, and if I get 8 billion off that, what would I do with it? I can't buy 2 carriers, because if I did, I'd have one out of Beagle Point or something.
Yeah.
I would like to be able to trade material for material in the same. Now, I don't like the current rates for trading down materials,
Yeah.
but
That
I
is,
wouldn't mind.
in the discussion a little bit further.
Okay. Yeah, but I wouldn't mind trading with other commanders at a similar rate, just a lot lower.
Okay, so I think it's safe to say we're all in agreement on that one. This one, the engineer unlock requirements should be reduced probably by around half across the board. What do we think about that? I mean, I agree. I don't know about half across the board, but I do agree that some of them are a bit extreme and hard to do, especially when you consider that unlocking the engineers is something that a newish commander is going to be doing.
I think some of the things, if you're just talking about unlocking engineers, some of the things you have to do to unlock engineers aren't that bad. And then some of them are like near impossible.
Yeah. I'm talking about
Like-
the unlocking the engineers now, yeah.
Yeah, like settlement defense plans, for example.
Yeah.
How long did that take us? Like weeks? I don't know.
Oh god, yeah. I mean, you guys know every single day that you come into the Discord, when I've been on, anybody's asked, "Hey, what you doing?" And my answer 99% of the time has been collecting materials for engineering.
I don't like that one engineer is locked behind a dangerous combat rank. I think it's Lori Jameson.
Ah, yes, it is deadly. Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, should ranks be tied to engineers at all?
No,
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so at all either.
Ranks itself for a whole nother topic.
Yeah. Simple one, this one. The ability to pin experimental effects should be added. Hell yes.
Yes.
Yes, I'm so sick of that being the only thing that I still have to go out and go to the engineer for. Why
Yeah.
can't we pin those?
Exactly. Resounding yes to that one.
And it does help when you can go to like the engineers that only offer grade 1 or 2 in something. You can still go to them and get the experimental put on that module, even though they don't offer grade 5. That's helpful,
Yeah.
but might as well just let us pin it.
Yep, totally agree. Okay, next. Make it so that all missions have a material reward, not just some of them. And make those mission material rewards selectable. i.e., we get to select which material we are rewarded with. I like this. This would remove the current situation where you're after a particular material and there are no missions spawning with that material as a reward. And it's, in my opinion, it's things like the current mission board roulette, which creates a lot of the frustration that commanders have with the game. Do you think?
Lately, I've been taking. I do a lot of wing mining missions to help the other commanders get their carriers and
Yep.
whatnot. And when I choose a reward, I usually choose materials so that I can stock up on those manufactured materials. So what I end up doing is taking those, the big stack of refined focus crystals or whatever they are, I'll take those to a material trader and just trade them down to all the other materials that I need.
Yep.
I'm just losing, every time you trade down to something, you lose a percentage of
Oh yeah.
everything. So and it shouldn't be like that. If you could choose your reward, then you wouldn't have to trade down to lose what you've already worked for.
Exactly.
Well, if you combine the two and make it so that you can select, and then when you trade down, you don't lose as much, that would be a win-win.
Yeah.
Yeah, and have it so you can do it on any mission that you want to do, not just select mission.
Because I really think that the ratios are a bit much. Or it takes 6 of the grade 4 to get 1 grade
Yes,
5. Is that right?
agreed. They are way out of whack.
That's out of line.
Next, some materials are collected by unused gameplay methods. By that, we mean wake scanning and high-grade emissions. So, for example, other than when you're collecting materials, when would you actually go wake scanning or exploring high-grade emissions? So the suggestion is to either remove those materials from the engineering requirements, make them readily available elsewhere, or give us a gameplay reason to do that method of collection. Now that
I agree
one,
with that, but I don't know how you tie that in. But
yeah. I mean, I don't know what would be a good gameplay reason for doing weight scanning and high grade emissions. I mean, weight scanning. Yeah, no, I can't.
what if you
Really
had a
think that.
mission to do wake scanning, like scan
Yeah,
10 wakes or something?
that's not. That's just bypassing the. That's not a reason.
No, it's not.
That's just getting around it. I mean, to me,
That material.
I think out of those options, I think they just need to make them readily available elsewhere. Rather than only available by weight scanning or high grade emissions.
If they made doing search and rescue and salvage maybe better, then you could do it like that. But as it stands, it's not worth it.
Yeah. And talking of high grade emissions, in my opinion, if materials are to continue being collected from high grade emissions, then they need to make them far more prolific in how often they appear and where they appear. Like, I don't know, 20 times more than they currently are. So that you can find one and another within a reasonable time, not spend hours searching for them.
Well, and that's another relog thing.
Yeah, and this is what I mean. To get rid of the relog, there needs to be a lot more high-grade emissions, a lot more, like 20 times more. And then
One thing.
sorry, and just one little bit more. And in those instances, I think they need to at least double the number of materials that spawn in them. What do you guys think?
I do agree there. They part of the HGEs are, and those spawning, a lot of that is tied to BGS as well. If there's a war going on, that determines on what type of materials are going to be in the high grade emission.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And I think
Yeah.
that it's fine if you're going to do that, but then when you go to farm them, they all have these little timers, little 20-minute timers, or 10 or 20-minute timers, you know?
Yeah.
You've got 20 minutes to get there and gather those materials before that signal disappears. And I don't like that at all, because a lot of these systems and these signals will be way out away from the star. By the time you get out there and gather everything, and then you get back into Super Cruise, the other timer is going to run out before you can get there because it's 10,000 light seconds away.
I've seen them 200.
Yeah, it just, if you're going to put a time, the timers are senseless. They should be there until you go and gather them, and then maybe not spawn again in that system or in that spot for a day or a cooldown or something like that.
I can't tell you how many times I've went and farmed stuff, and I'll jump into all these systems, and everything's like these ridiculous distances, 100,000 light seconds, 56,000, and you're just like, by the time you get there, you're lucky to get it.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
Okay, so I think we agree on that one. Okay. Now this one, I would like to see the engineering of modules unlocked permanently after the first round of engineering for that kind of engineering with that kind of module. So, say if you engineer thrusters for dirty drives with thermal spread, both dirty drives and thermal spread will be permanently unlocked for any future thruster engineering, either at no cost or possibly for a significantly reduced cost for future upgrades. Like maybe we have to do one grade 5 material contribution to apply the modification at maximum strength. Currently, the engineering grind for one upgrade is bad enough, but having to do it over and over and over for every single module is not only demoralizing, but actively stops many players from even doing engineering, and is the cause of some players not wanting to play the game at all. This
Same for
change,
suits.
yeah, this change is one of the biggest changes needed, in my opinion. And unfortunately, I suspect it's also high on the list of changes that Frontier is unlikely to actually make. I would actually be shocked if Frontier made this change. I think this is exactly the kind of change that they need to make to turn the game around. You guys
Well,
think?
we've been talking about ships, but it's the same for suits too. You put
Yeah.
you engineer a suit and it's locked for life, and that's just crazy.
Yeah. That's another discussion, though.
Same thing though. It's
It is
exactly
the same thing. It is.
And the modules themselves, maybe could you change the experimental for cheaper? I don't know. The experimental is generally not expensive. That's a good one. I don't think Frontier will ever do anything with that.
I wish
No.
that you could detach them.
What do you mean?
Detach the blueprint, the engineering from your ship, and store it and put it on another ship if you want. You know what I mean? Like
I'm not really with you, to be honest.
being able to unengineer your ship and say think of it like slotting a piece of armor in a like a Dungeons and Dragons game. Like the armor has slots in it, and you put a gem that has this type of engineering on it. What if you could take that off of your ship and save it, put it on something else?
So then you'd standardize engineering across all the grades of modules.
Yeah, kind of.
So you're about storing the engineering done, not the actual module.
Right. Like, I guess that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but
Not really, not to me.
Well, no, if you have a power plant, then you got two slots, one for like dirty drag drives and one for an experimental drag drives dirty, and then you could unplug that. But then let's say that's a grade, it's a power or it's a thruster's grade 6 and you're trying to go to grade 7, that doesn't go across, right?
Right.
I don't know what I'm saying, but I'm not sure how that would work.
yeah, you're hitting it kind of what I'm trying to say, but you're right about the slots. Like, let's talk about a power plant or thrusters. That's easier. thruster has 2 slots, one for normal engineering and one for the experimental. And you can unplug the engineering out of those slots and put them in a completely different thruster. In a completely different thruster's slot. You know what I'm saying?
So if I understand, what I think you're saying is make the engineering a sort of plug-in add-on to modules
Right.
that you
Go
can
and
plug in and unplug at will and store them.
make it a physical thing that you can go and purchase.
Yeah.
Spend the materials and go and purchase.
So
and
it's
then
not
plug it in
yeah.
to your module like a flash drive.
Yeah. So it's not some sort of modification to the module. It's more of an addition that can be removed. Yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah,
you
I
got
get
the
that.
base module, and every module has a normal slot and an experimental slot, and then you can go around and just buy the engineering things in their physical form and plug them into your modules.
Yeah. And have maybe somewhere in your general storage, like where you have your other, data and etc.
Right. Like a blueprint storage or engineering storage or something.
Yeah.
But make sure they only give you 5 slots. Or 20, I mean, yeah.
This is it. I mean, how many slots? If they give you 100 slots, then, I mean, you're soon going to fill them up.
They give you 100 slots there, they're going to take them away someplace else.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to give you, limitless slots. If they give you 100 slots, I mean, how quickly is that? I mean, that's soon going to fill up, and then you're back to the same position of you can only use the engineering that you've got in there, or you have to start deleting them so you can make room for more.
Or you just buy a bunch of Type 9s and Type 10s and put them on there, or buy
Yeah.
modules so you can store them. I mean,
Yeah.
and then you just might as well have them on the module anyway. That's what Original Chugs was saying. You can swap modules for that, but we were talking about swapping them across grades of thrusters. So if you had a 6 or a 7 thruster, grade 6, then you could just plug those modules in, is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, isn't it now when you go to the engineered, whether you have a class 3 thruster or a class 8 thruster, you still pay the same amount for the engineering, right?
Pretty sure, yeah.
So why not just turn them into a physical thing? You just plug and play, take them out of one thruster and put them in your other thruster. Bam. Grade 5 dirty drives. Sorry if it's so weird for me to explain that. I don't know of any other way to explain it.
No, I mean, I think I get it now. He says so. He's behaving weird. Doesn't drive it at low speeds. Doesn't seem to want to drive right. But yeah, I agree with everything you've said. Move on to the next subject. Okay, next. How about a system to allow us to... What's up?
Oh no, I was just gonna comment on, can we not be launched into outer space whenever we run over a material?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Okay, how about a system to allow us to scrap, or whatever you want to call it, an engineered module, and recover the materials that were used to engineer it. So sort of like reversing the engineering to get the materials back. I mean, that could be good. I know in the past I've engineered modules, and afterwards I've thought, well,
I'm sure, like scrapping something and then getting.
they're not what I thought they'd be, and they've ended up just stored in a ship and never used again.
So you just get a portion of the materials back. That kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, like you could go turn it in and get credit for it.
Yeah, something like that. Either turn them in, break them down, scrap them, whatever it is.
That's another thing that in theory I think is really good, but implementing that in game would be very difficult.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, so you go to an engineer and you turn that module in, then you just get a portion of that back. I mean, right now it's randomized. If they standardize what you spent to get a module or an upgrade engineering in the first place, it would probably be a simpler thing. But right now, not.
Yeah, true. What do you think, Scorn?
Yeah, I would like to be able to scrap things or reverse engineer things. That'd be nice. Goes along with what I was saying a minute ago, kind of bringing all of it into a physical form that we can do things with.
Yeah. I agree. Moving on to the next one, which is actually the last of ideas I had to discuss, and goes back to what you were talking about earlier, Scorn. There's a few ideas under one here, actually. The 3 material traders, I think they should be made into 1 material trader. Instead of having raw, manufactured, and data separate, just have a material trader. Also, I think the trade amounts do need to be adjusted so that you don't get ripped off so hard when trading or cross-trading. I would say the normal trading amounts need to be at least double and preferably triple what they are now in general. And the cross-trading ratio needs to be improved drastically. I don't know what it should be, but a hell of a lot better than it is. And also, I'd like to see the medieval material type cross-trading along with having 1 trader. So you could trade raw materials for the manufactured or data and vice versa. And the last thing is also systems with material traders in them should also be given an optional icon on the galaxy map. My ideas for material traders. What do you think?
I agree with all that. I think that materials should be roped into 1 contact, and that it shouldn't. I don't know what it is that determines which station gets material. I know that the economy is part of it, but some large stations have material traders and some don't. Like, why is that?
Yeah.
I would like for them to be available, more widely available. And the ratio, I agree with you there. That needs to be cut in half. Lots of things need to be done there. But the penalty that you get, the most annoying part of it is the penalty that you get when you're trying to trade down to another material that is not in line with that certain type of material. Like you have your let me go to the material trader so that I can see myself. But
Yeah, no,
talking about like the crystals being traded over to like heat sinks.
Yeah.
There's like a huge penalty there, and there shouldn't be that.
It shouldn't be as big of a penalty as what it is. I mean, then that material is obviously a grade 7 material. You know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
is that whole column worth more than the other columns? I mean, they made them grade 5, all grade 5. Is that really, are those materials really, much higher overall? No, they're not, and they're all equal. But you get a penalty anyway, whichever way you cross trade, and it makes no sense.
Yep. Whole thing, that whole little ratio thing needs to be changed completely.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes, I agree with all of the points that you made. With all the materials being roped in together in one trader, kind of annoying having to hunt down 3 different traders every time you go and farm something.
Exactly.
It doesn't enhance gameplay at all.
Nope, it's just annoying. And a time sink. Okay, so that's the end of the ideas that I wanted to discuss. Do you guys have any other ideas or suggestions of your own that you want to bring up?
Go for it, Bravo. I'm gonna stew on it for a minute.
Well, and that's what I'm sitting here thinking about. We've covered so much, the game, the dynamics of the game have changed so much. The way they've nerfed, like mining, for example, and just changed it. I mean, the only significant way that I think that you get credits in the game for new players is space trucking.
Yeah.
And I think they should have made a better balance there, so that it kind of drives players. So you're not punished if you want to go and be a bounty hunter, or if you want to go mine, you're not punished for that, because you could be simply space trucking and making more credits, or make it so that there's other benefits out of doing those other sort of career paths to better balance the game. That makes sense.
Yeah, just to me.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. That's pretty much, we need that.
Yeah.
We need these things to be implemented.
And to be honest, a lot of the things that need doing in the game are across sections, whereas, I mean, this is purely for ship engineering, balancing, and material gathering. So, unfortunately, a lot of this also depends on the possible balancing of other areas, which is just not under discussion. So that really sort of limits what you can do here without considering changing other areas. You see what I mean? Because there's so many areas that need adjusting. That Frontier's got the work cut out for them.
Well, and any time you adjust one thing, it has a cascade effect across the entire game.
Yeah.
And unintended consequences.
I wish they would put the effort into implementing better features the same way that they put effort into nerfing things.
Yes, that's a big.
Amen.
And just the way they look at things as well is a big bugbear of mine. I mean, I constantly see, oh, we've done this and to stop people relogging, and we've done this to stop them doing that. Instead of thinking, they need to think a bit different way. They don't need to stop people doing things. They need to look at why people are doing them and give them a reason not to do them. Not just forcing them to stop. Because, for example,
Or at least
relogging.
bait and switch.
Yeah, for example, relogging. If they force people to stop relogging, they find a way and manage to stop people to stop relogging. Full stop. It's ridiculous the way they just think of things.
Well, and if they made the spawn rate for those materials that you're relogging for, 20 times greater, you probably wouldn't relog because you'd be enjoying
Exactly.
the gameplay.
They need to address the cause of the issues, not the issues themselves. And that's the problem. Frontier's trying to deal with the issues instead of dealing with the cause. Okay, do you guys have anything else that you want to bring up? Like changes to engineering wise?
No, I think we covered it
Okay.
as far as ship engineering goes.
Anything else
No problem.
you'd like to add before we look towards the end of the stream?
Just, I wish that they would make a better effort to engage the players.
Yeah, definitely. Okay then, if that's everything done, then I will just finish with my summary. I will say, if Frontier's idea of rebalancing engineering is to slightly adjust things, which is what it seems from what they're suggesting, then this whole rebalancing isn't going to help resolve the issues that commanders currently have with engineering. Elite Dangerous' tagline is blaze your own trail. Unfortunately, the way Frontier have chosen to make the game so far, it's more like grind our trail. Which, I mean, yes, it is good for a game to indicate to players, hey, look over here, you could go here and try this, it might be good. But what Frontier has done, though, is more like, you have to do this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And Frontier has spoken out several times on how they respect our time. However, they're saying that, but their actions in how they develop their game show exactly the opposite of that. I mean, they have created the situation where the majority of commanders feel the need to grind severely. They have to relog over and over just to gain progression in the game. And even with all those shortcuts and tricks, the progression is still at quite an unreasonably slow rate. In order for Elite Dangerous to stand a chance of recovering from what Frontier have done to the game, we need a way to engineer things that actually does respect our time. We basically need a method that doesn't require menu logging or tricks, that will then allow us to engineer modules in a reasonable amount of time without resorting to them. If Frontier provides us with that, then commanders will no longer need to grind so hard or relog repeatedly. Commanders will also then be more likely to engineer, and the current issues with relogging will go away naturally. Unfortunately, Frontier seems more inclined to put their resources into trying to forcefully stop commanders from relogging, which is mind-boggling to me. If they did succeed in stopping commanders from relogging, then all they are actually going to achieve is stopping commanders from being able to engineer, which is going to result in more commanders leaving the game or just not bothering with engineering at all. So they are effectively working to sabotage their own game, which is madness in my book. And this is why I constantly fail to understand most things that Frontier do, which are supposedly done to improve the game. I really do hope that this way of thinking changes with Frontier, and that they do make some big changes in the right direction with the changes that they're doing to ship engineering, but I have to say I don't expect them to. What I am expecting from them is a slight adjustment across the board that they will all be really excited about, but actually makes little difference to fixing the grind. That's just from experience, from what I've seen of how they work. But we will just have to see, wait until the changes come and see what happens. I will do another live stream to see what actually changed once the ship engineering has been rebalanced. But I think that's about it for this live stream. Next week's live stream, we will be discussing which is the ultimate space sim, Elite, Dangerous or Star Citizen. Expect you won't want to miss that. So you better go subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss it. But until then, Commanders, we'll see you out in the black. Thanks for watching.